So PlayStation 6 2026 production and GPU specs leak, PlayStation Portable 3 specs and timeline, and Sony is buying Fromsoftware's parent company. Those are the stories we're going to talk about today. And if you could hit that like button on the video, thank you to those that do it. And as always, it's very much appreciated. First, yes or no, do you have a PlayStation Portal or not? We're going to be talking about the next generation handheld from Sony today, but I'm curious who here is supporting the Portal. So comment below yes or no if you have a PlayStation Portal or not. Let me know down in the comments below. Now diving into the first story of the video, Sony buying Fromsoftware's parent company. Reading from Forbes, Sony may be poised to have another major weapon in its arsenal. Reuters and now Nikkei is reporting that Sony's in talks to acquire Kadokawa, the parent company of Fromsoftware, which is the developer of games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls. The report says that talks are ongoing and a deal could manifest in a matter of weeks. Sony already has a 2% stake in Kadokawa and a 14% stake in Fromsoftware itself, but this would bring both entirely under its wing. However, Sony-owned FromSoft games would not be the only result of this acquisition, as it would be yet another path for Sony to control manga and anime properties when they are already an enormous powerhouse in that segment, owning the likes of anime streaming services like Crunchyroll, which was already absorbed by another staple, Funimation, in the last few years. As for how Sony owning Fromsoftware would affect PlayStation, well, the obvious idea is that it's entirely possible that future Fromsoftware games would be PlayStation exclusives released on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 6, but not on Xbox like Elden Ring was. That would also affect PC releases, as instead of launching on Steam day and date, a FromSoft game could use Sony's delayed PC release schedule and not land there until much later. So this was actually confirmed this morning. So this is an update to the story that Kadokawa themselves, they confirmed that this is actually happening, but a decision has not been made yet, which is pretty much what the Reuters report has already stated. It's just huge to think that Sony is going to potentially own Fromsoftware in the coming weeks. If they do lock them down, if there's an agreement and this actually does happen, I don't personally think Sony is going to make all of their new games exclusive to PlayStation or even delayed on PC. I feel this is another Bungie-like acquisition where it's under Sony, but those games are still multi-platform. Of course, there will be exclusive games to PlayStation though, just like how Bloodborne and Demon's Souls were exclusive to PlayStation even before this acquisition news or even the thought of this acquisition. We've heard rumors of Sony working with Fromsoftware to make a new exclusive, and I think that game will only be on PS5 or PS6 whenever that happens, but I still see other games being produced by Fromsoftware coming to all platforms. Of course, let's see how this goes, since we're supposed to find out in the coming weeks according to Reuters. And if you're enjoying the video so far, hit that subscribe button and join our growing community on our way to 150,000 subscribers. Now diving into the second story of the video, PlayStation 6 production in 2026 and the new GPU to be used on it. Reading from WCCF Tech, AMD's next-gen UDNA architecture-based Radeon gaming GPUs will allegedly enter mass production in Q2 2026 and also be integrated into Sony's PlayStation 6. It has been reported that AMD plans to bring its GPU lineup under one unified architecture, which will be known as UDNA. This will combine the best of CDNA, Instinct, and RDNA Radeon lineups under one roof. This will mark a fresh start for the AMD GPU division, which currently has two different architectures aimed at different applications. While little is known about the changes that will be made to the architecture itself, they will be succeeding the CDNA and RDNA 4 family of GPUs, which are expected to be the last to use these naming conventions, based on a post by Chip Hell forum member Zhang Zonghao, who has recently been active and posted some information that turned out to be correct, mainly regarding the 9800X3D. It looks like the user has some new points to share about the AMD UDNA lineup. So what's next is what the leaker stated, and we're just going to focus on the PlayStation related aspects. He said some other stuff as well, but we're going to focus on the PlayStation related content. He stated, there is no RDNA 5 codename. After RDNA 4, it will be UDNA. UDNA Gaming GPU is tentatively scheduled for mass production in Q2 2026. Sony's PlayStation 6 will use UDNA, and the CPU has not yet been determined to be Zen 4 or Zen 5. Sony's handheld will also use AMD hardware. So the PlayStation 6 GPU could go into production in the second quarter of 2026, but obviously this doesn't mean the PlayStation 6 itself will launch that year. The console is still reportedly launching in 2027 or 2028, so maybe by the time it launches, there will be a UDNA 2 or a UDNA 3, for example, if AMD still goes with the numbering naming convention like they did with RDNA, which I assume they will, but we're going to have to see on that. And I only say that because the PlayStation 5 launched with some of the latest tech and some tech that wasn't even on the market, so I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing with the PlayStation 6, unless this UDNA 1 is going to go into production in the second quarter of 2026 and maybe land on PC in late 2026, maybe early 2027, and that will actually be the GPU used for the PlayStation 6, which launches maybe late 2027. That's just one scenario. But going back to the leak, it's not only that. They didn't only mention the PlayStation 6, they also mentioned the handheld, which is great because that means leakers are still hearing about this thing. So Sony is probably still pushing forward with the handheld, and we're going to talk more about that handheld in a sec. Going back to the PlayStation 6 using UDNA, for us, I'm not sure this means as much because this is still mainly focused on the gaming side of the architecture, which really means the PlayStation 6 will be using something like RDNA 6. It's just going to be a part of this new unified structure, UDNA, unless there's going to be some actual benefits for combining both of these things on the gaming side. We're going to have to see if that actually is the case when more of this leaks or we get more information from AMD officially at some point. Now, for the PlayStation 6, I expect AI hardware to play a even bigger role here, along with ray tracing hardware as well. Pretty much what we've seen with the PlayStation 5 Pro, just elevated for the PlayStation 6. This next generation could be really impressive if they manage to bring something like path tracing over to consoles, because that is such a big difference when you see on the PC side, but you still need a high-end PC to get some of that going. So if they manage to do that for the PlayStation 6 in 2027 or 2028, games will actually look that much better running on the PlayStation 6. But you guys let me know if you're excited for the PS6 or not. Let me know down in the comments below. And now diving into the final story of the video, the next PlayStation Portable timeline. So we just talked about some of the specs for the PlayStation 6, and this included mention of the next PlayStation handheld using AMD hardware, which we heard it was going to be the case before. Recently, we also heard that Xbox is making their own handheld as well officially, and people actually thought this thing would be launching in the near future. Some were betting next year, but we got official word on it, and this makes me think about the PlayStation Portable 3's reported timeline of release. So let's get into what Phil Spencer said himself. Reading from IGN, in an interview with Bloomberg, Spencer said the expectation is that we would do something in the handheld game devices category, but such a device is a few years out. So, a few years out from now is around the timeline we've heard for the PSP3, which is around the launch of the PlayStation 6, which is 2027 or 2028. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steam Deck 2 is also probably a 2026 device, so near the launch of the other handheld devices we're hearing about. It's looking like both Sony and Microsoft are gearing up to launch a new home hardware console alongside a new handheld, which is exciting. The PSP3 3 is said to be able to play PlayStation 4 games and some PlayStation 5 games that come with patches. I wonder if this will change by 2027 and 2028. It'll probably be able to play all PlayStation 5 games because by then the PS5 would be around 7 to 8 years old. Some wonder how good this device will be if it can't play PlayStation 6 games, for example, but you have to think about how cross-gen has come into play. Many of Sony's first-party games were cross-gen, and new games are still coming out for the PlayStation 4, and that console is 11 years old. Major games are still launching on that console. I think the PlayStation 5 will last well into the PlayStation 6 era, so those PlayStation 5 games running on this new handheld will probably run at 1080p 60 frames per second, which is fine for a handheld, and you'll have that thing for years to come before, a PlayStation 7, for example. I'm excited for it, and we'll be covering news, leaks, and rumors, as you guys already know, obviously, so be sure to subscribe for those future videos. But you guys let me know if you're excited for the PSP 3 or not. Let me know down in the comments below, and if you guys did enjoy this video, please hit that like button, as it always helps, and subscribe if you're new. I got new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and now I'll check you guys out on the next one. And welcome back to the after show. This is a part of the video where we have a little fun down in the comments below. If you're old, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. For today's thing, what I want you guys to do is to body, obliterate, destroy, and overall harass the comment section with ready for the next gen portable. I'm excited for this PSP 3. I can't wait to see Sony make another handheld. If you're excited as well, destroy the comment section with ready for the next gen portable, and I'll definitely heart those comments like I always do because I appreciate everybody who stays to the end of my videos. And now I'll check you guys out on the next one.